All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Slegos interview series. So glad that you are here, that you are watching live and on the replay. If you are new to See God Slay Goals, my name is Felicia. I'm the founder, and we are a Christian lifestyle brand that helps the millennial woman to enhance her spiritual, emotional, economic, and physical health. We gather in a private Facebook group called the See God Slay Goals Movement, and so you are more than welcome to join us. This is going to be our last interview in our pop up series. So, hi, Rachel. So, this is going to be our last interview in our pop-up series. We were interviewing some amazing women all throughout the month of May, and I'm super excited about this interview to interview my sister and my friend. So I'm going to tell you about our guests in a minute, but do me a favor and share this broadcast out. We're going to be having a great discussion, and all of our guests, they have really been a blessing to us over this past month, and today is going to be no different. So please share this out. And so let me just hop right into it so we can get into our conversation. Our guest for today is Miss Shayla Smith, and Shayla is known for her compassion towards those who are hurting, her heart for God, passion and pursuit of God's word, and her praying spirit. She is employed through mainline healthcare as a certified medical assistant and patient care technician, which not only serves as a source of income but a source of service. Being in each of these positions presents her the opportunity to witness to her patients through love, prayer, and the word of God. While singing and writing are a few of her talents, Shayla is most fervent about healing and wholeness. She graduated from Lancaster Bible College with her associates in Bible and Theology Biblical Studies in June of 2018, and she is attending Delaware Community College, where she will receive her BSN through their nursing program. Shayla hopes to bring healing to her community and the world at large through her ministry, Wounds That Heal. So, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Shayla Smith.
Hi,
Hi.
everybody. Hey, C. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm
Good, good,
excited.
good. Yes, I am too. I know. It's crazy we don't even get to talk, and we're here talking on live stream. So this is gonna be like we having a little phone conversation.
Absolutely. Actually, typically I'm nervous, but that just made me unnervous.
Oh my goodness. I don't know why. Yes, it's just me and you. We're having a dialogue, a little
Absolutely.
conversation. So, my first question that I'm always asking our guests, because we read bios, we see people on social media, but who is Shayla outside of the bio, outside of what people think they know about you?
So, most importantly, of course, I'm a child of God. I think I would have to say I'm a sister, a daughter, a friend, a mentor to some, and I'm quirky. Um, I am just on a quest of just finding out who I am. So I'm those things which are up to me when you ask about who I am outside of my bio. I think it's interesting because oftentimes we think, I know for me, I can struggle with thinking that it's supposed to be grand, but even
Mm,
those things, and those simple, small things are also the grand things. People that those things that people can't see. So I'm just excited about being that, those simplistic things.
yeah, and I love that you said still finding yourself because I think we kind of, like you said, we put in our bio the highlights, but we're just like everybody else. We're still on our own journeys trying to find out who we are, trying to be who God created us to be. And so I love that you said, still finding yourself. And it's a journey. Like I don't think you ever fully know
Right,
everything
right,
or
absolutely,
who you are. It's really a journey and
absolutely.
a process. So let's talk about Wounds That Heal.
I
I'm
mean,
excited about this. Yes. So tell us what it is and how it was birthed.
okay, so Wounds That Heal was birth. It's a long story. So the short story is year 2014 and 15. I was going through what I would call my most challenging year since I've been a Christian, or that I could identify like what struggle was or what pain was.
Mm,
I know during that time I was very much crippled by fear, very anxious. I was very suicidal on 6 different occasions. I just was going through a lot of tormenting thoughts. I was trying to figure out who I was, and I realized that I was trying to figure out who I was by relationships or by association. I just was dealing with my identity
Mm,
really strongly. And I just remember during, 2014, 2015 came. I was in that really bad car accident. It just kind of made me think about life in a different kind of way. And it was really, Wounds That Heal was really birthed out of difficulty and the reality behind, okay, I went through this, but now I'm here. So it made me look at what I was going through from a different perspective. Like, okay, Shayla, you're going through these different things, but you also made it through these different kind of things. And I think that that's powerful because it makes you appreciate the tough times. Like, it makes you look at what we call good,
mm,
and what we necessarily deem as bad. It's like not everything is bad. It's just this difficult thing for me was challenging. I didn't see myself getting through it, but here I am on the opposite side of that. I had to lose some things, lose some people, lose what I wanted to have control over,
mhm.
and I'm on the opposite side of that. So just knowing that 2014 I was suicidal, and then 2015 came around and I'm like, "Oh, I'm here." And God's like, "No, yeah, you're here because there's something greater that I want for you to, that I want to do inside of you." So that's how it was birthed out of difficulty. That's
Out of difficulty.
just that's just where it was birthed. And really what it is, I believe that God created me to create a platform for people to connect what's hurting them to his promises. And it's
Mm,
easier, I think, to communicate with somebody who knows the Lord, who's more interested in getting to know him. But what about those people that are also broken and lost that don't know him?
right.
And I believe that the platform is to provide that space where we can dialogue about God, mentorship about God, have accountability about God, and just invite women into this space of like, hey, I was where you were. I didn't always know him. But something about what I was going through just made me try him. And that was the best decision that I ever did in my life. So that's really what Wounds That Heal is and how it was birthed.
Yeah, and I think that's so important to have that space where there's people that you can identify with, because a lot of times when we're going through things, we don't feel like anybody under like nobody we feel like nobody in the world understands what it is we're
Mhm.
going through in that moment. And so to know that there are spaces with people who have been through it and have made it through, I think is so necessary and so powerful. Leia's on. Hey Leia, thank you for joining. Bless you, sis.
Hey.
um so we're going to talk about healing, but we need to talk about wounds before we talk about healing.
Absolutely.
So wounds, what are your thoughts on them? Do you think that they are God ordained, or do you think they are self-inflicted, or are they kind of both? Like, how do you think we kind of get to this space where we are wounded and we need healing?
Um, so I would definitely say that we have responsibility for the self-inflicted wounds. I think what God would use those painful places as, those wounds, I think he uses those wounds or those things that we went through as a means to, you know, give him glory, but also draw us closer into what who we are or what we were
Mhm.
really created to do. I mean, I just think that sin has distorted our view in life. So it's difficult to communicate, oh, well, God is having me go through this difficult thing. And some things are like traumatic. And I know that trauma for everybody is different, but there are some things that people have gone through where they don't really consider that God at all, because if God is who he says he is, why would I experience so much trial? But the reality is that we were created in his image, and beyond the surface of what we're going through externally, we were created for him. And the more that we, connect ourselves, we realize that the things that we experience, which is our wounds that are difficult, um, you know, they make us broken. I think even like how we think about ourselves, how
Mhm.
we grow up, culture. I know for a very long time I couldn't even identify myself because I was always looking, which I still sometimes struggle with, looking for other people to validate who God has already called me to be, right? You're right in front of me, Felicia, so I can touch you, I can feel you, you're here.
Right.
I can trust you, but God is invisible. So it's like he's not real, but he really is. So I think it's God in both ourselves, our the way that we're brought up, how we think about ourselves, the things that we are influenced by, the rooms we walk through, the things we see, the things we hear. I just really believe that what we think is what we speak is what we begin to see, and what we
Mhm.
see is what we begin to behave, and that creates those habits, and then ultimately creates these lifestyles in our lives that sometimes aren't what God want for isn't what God want for us to go through.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So many things come into play, like you said, just small things that we don't even really think are having an impact on us. Um, and they really do. And so I think you were talking about connection. That's why it's so important to be connected to God so we can really know our identity and really understand, his purpose for our lives. And even when things don't seem like they make sense, trusting that where he has us or what we went through is going to work out for our good. Like we get all of that through the relationship and through the connection with God. And so sometimes when there's that disconnect, yeah, we do end up wounded, whether it's self-inflicted or we're feeling more wounded because God is maybe taking us through something
Mhm.
and where our perspective on it is different than his
Absolutely.
intent. So I think that was really good. So in order, we're talking about wounds and, wounds that heal. In order for something to be healed, there has to be some wounds. And so you talked about your story a little bit, but when you were kind of going through your phase where, you said you were suicidal, you're just going through all of these different phases, you didn't really know your identity. What did your faith look like during that time compared to what it looks like now?
That's a really good question. Fickle. Just fickle. If I could be honest, I was uncertain a lot of the time. And I think sometimes too, I would be lying if I said I'm not still uncertain
Hmm.
now. But being uncertain in that place where I wasn't even trying to I wasn't trying to develop. I was just in what I was in, and that's all that I could see. I had
Yeah.
experienced these things for such a long period of time that I felt like this is just what I'm created to live with. I'm hurting. I'm in pain. This is difficult. My family looks like this. My relationships look like this. What you see is what you get. But when I started to really try God, instead of just hearing about him, seeing how he works in other people's lives, I said, this, I don't have anything else left to try. This is just
Wow.
gonna have to be this or nothing. And it was absolutely revolutionary for me because it was a walk, and it still is a walk and journey with God that I'm learning that he's really in control, really in control of my life. So my faith was fickle and sometimes still can be, but I'm most when I begin to feel my faith slipping, I'm more interested in hearing what God has to say about it before anybody else has to say about it, or reminding myself of scripture, or immersing myself
Mhm.
in prayer and worship, and just developing those habits in my Christian walk that helped build my Christian faith, just like I did when I was out in the world, when I enjoyed those different things that I enjoyed. So
Yeah.
fickle. I was just fickle.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's important for people to share. I think there's this misconception that we always have it all together because we're Christians, and that's really not the case. Like, we have our moments where we're uncertain, where we are questioning God. And even when you said try God, I'm even like, he's been dealing with me about obedience, and I'm just like it's, you can be partially obedient to something,
It's
or you're
difficult.
obedient a little bit, and then you go back and you go back and you go back and forth. And I'm kind of in a space now where it's like, okay, I don't have no other option. I mean, I
Mhm.
do, but it's like, okay,
This
I'm
is
just going to
comfortable. This
try
is
God.
what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I just think it's important for us to, just be real about our faith walks. Like, it's not always, those happy days where we're, showered in blessings
Uh,
and So all those things, like sometimes it's hard work, and it's making those hard decisions, and um struggling with your identity and trying to be obedient. So, you're not alone, because I know people just have that misconception, like, oh, is there
Everything has
something
to do.
wrong with me because I'm feeling this type of way? Like, no, we all have our moments and we go through our things. So, um,
Absolutely.
yeah, you were going to add something?
Absolutely. I think too, I know one of the things that I had to come to grips with is that a lot of the times my cry for help was in me hiding what I needed the help for.
Mm,
So we sincerely hide the state of our brokenness because we don't want to show people our unflawed places, which really for me has showed me that I'm still not trusting God and then I'm trying to be God. You know what I mean? I'm trying to
yeah.
be perfect. I'm trying to show people who God is without letting God be who he is by allowing for him to live through my life. So in our cry for that help for brokenness or in that cry of our need to be healed and whole, we hide. I still have to find myself uncovering a lot of the places that I don't want people to see. And not to say, there's a healthy way for you to put your life on display. You get what
Mhm.
I'm saying? But if I'm saying that I need the help, I have to actually say what it is that I need the help for.
Right.
And sometimes in the Christian community, we don't always present that best option because there aren't always blessings, and sometimes it's much more difficult in the strive to be better than it
Mhm.
is than what it is that we receive in it. And I think the biggest lesson that I've learned in this journey is that it helped me to find joy in just giving it to God, and knowing that he cares about what I'm going through and wants to develop me. So even if this doesn't turn out the way I desire for it to turn out, even if I lose this loved one, even if I'm struggling with my identity or someone did something to offend me, I'm no longer I'm relinquishing my control, and
Mhm.
my walk with God is shaping the way that I handle my challenges, which I'm now responsible for because I now know. So yeah, just that whole perfect thing is just whack. You can't. It's
Yeah, and that's so true. Like, we want to control so much, and that's just out of fear. And uh, I totally can relate to that. You just want to control everything, and it's like, okay, you don't want to really take your hand off of it, because what if it goes a different type of way? And that's really just not trusting God fully. It's like it's a trust issue and it's a fear issue, because we're fearful of the outcome, not trusting that what God has for us or his outcome is going to be the best for us. And we sometimes we can't even imagine God's best for us. We just have it in our mind
what it
what
is.
we think is best. And God is like, no, I'm trying to give you something else, but I need you to take your hands off of the situation. And that can be so, so, so hard to do.
Absolutely.
So that's, I can relate to that. So, so let's talk about your personal process of healing. So what did that look like? Like, what did it look like in real life? Did you say, okay, God, I need to be healed? Or what did the process start to look like? Just kind of give us an idea of what that looked like. Because in the Bible, healing looks different for different people. Some
Absolutely.
people received immediate healing, some people had to participate in their healing.
People
So
didn't
what
get
did
the
that
healing they wanted. Yep, absolutely. So for me, I would have to say honesty. Um, being vulnerable about being being open to being vulnerable about what I knew God already knows about
mm,
me. So I'm hiding from you, or I'm hiding from people, but I was never hiding from God. So God, in my saying, Lord, I want to be healed. What does that look like? Um, was me being honest and vulnerable and choosing to face those different things with him, um honestly. So I learned confession a lot, and even in facing the difficult circumstances or facing the place that God that God wants to heal me, and me asking him what that looks like, really dealing with the harsh reality about what my tendencies are, because it's
mm,
easier for me to have relationship with other people and say, I don't like the tendencies of you. But the reality behind when I say, God, I want you to heal me, what's broken or what is an error inside of me has nothing to do with anyone else.
Right.
What characteristics in me don't look like you? What is flawed? What is broken? And I had to be, I mean, I remember times and even still times now where I'm sobbing because I'm broken, and I've really found that I didn't really enjoy myself, and
Mm,
I wanted and desired for people to love a version of me that I didn't even love myself.
right.
So just being honest, being vulnerable with God, being harsh in your reality, calling what it is that you're experiencing, what it is. Anxiety, suicide, I'm confused about my identity. I don't like what this person has done to me. I don't like my response to what this person has done to me. I don't like that I just had to be very, very, very honest. And then what I found in that is that I didn't really enjoy myself. So I became more aware of myself. So that's really what my healing process looked like, saying it out of my mouth, looking at it in the face, seeing what errors are in me, seeing what I believed about myself that was actually a lie in comparison
Mm,
to what the word of God says, removing those lies consistently, replacing it with truth, and realizing that I have a journey, an identity that God has already confirmed and wants for me to live. So it was a lot of readjustment. It was a lot of tears and a lot of just really just allowing for God to be God. And sometimes he didn't answer right
mm.
away. And sometimes he answered and I procrastinated with what he said or gave me the answer about. So my healing process just looked very honest, very vulnerable, just looking at what I was experiencing. Um, for what it was. And sometimes that meant me looking in the mirror and saying, hey, I feel like this about myself today. Or even sometimes even realizing that there were some things that happened in my life that I didn't have control over, like not having my biological father took a big toll on my life for how I just saw men in authority as
Mm.
well. It shaped how I thought I was supposed to be loved, or what I thought I wasn't good enough about. So I just had to really take those layers of that off of me for God to really fill me up with with that truth, or just rewriting my story.
Whew, that is so good. That's so good. I'm not even going to add to anything. I hope y'all are really listening and taking notes because that was a good process. If you are needing to go through healing, and we all have some level of healing to go through. So, what was the most difficult part, or even now, what's the most difficult part of your healing process?
Wow, that's a really good question. The most difficult part would have to be coming to realize that I'm not perfect,
Mm,
and that and in the waiting for God to show himself to be strong the way he shows himself to be strong. So when we pray, we want for I know for me, if I'm praying and I want for God to do something, I actually sometimes want him to do it the way I want him to do. Can you show me like this? And he'll do the very opposite, but will give me the healing, or will give me what it is that I'm asking, just not in the way that I wanted for him to. So facing myself, I can't keep blaming why I'm broken on what happened to me. I can keep talking about it. I can keep saying it's hurting me. I can deal with it, but I can't keep saying someone else did this to me. Someone else is making me respond like this. I didn't have this when I grew up. I didn't have relationships that were help, because God was presenting to me the opportunity to have those things now. So now all I had was left to do with was dealing with the fact that, Shayla, you're not perfect. You're never ever going to be perfect. You're going to have to face yourself, and what you sometimes will find, and I will unveil and reveal to you, you might not like, but this is how you become whole. This is how you become, how you become healed. So just really looking myself in the face and being like, okay, well, can't fake no more. Can't keep saying I'm okay when I'm not okay, even when you have to find out who it is that you're supposed to share why you're not okay with, um has been difficult for me. And just that I'm in counseling now, therapy, so just things that I needed to do for myself. So that was the most difficult part. And then waiting on God. It can be very silent sometimes. Just waiting around God. I'm just waiting.
Right.
I'm just waiting. But while we're waiting, we should be trusting and building ourselves up, or cultivating what it is that He's given to us, and just choosing to make the decision to believe that He'll see what he promised to come to pass. So that was the most difficult thing for myself.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And that's so difficult. I think just it's in human nature, it's so easy for us to point the finger at other people like you did this to me, or we can easily spot other people's flaws, or we're easy to say, okay, well, you did this to me. And it's very difficult for us to look in the mirror and just
Yeah,
realize that we got some stuff going on
got
with us
some
too.
issues.
Like we're not all the
Your
way
mouth is
together.
nasty. Your thoughts are nasty. You don't like
Yes.
yourself, so you can't love your neighbor. Just, yeah, that whole thing.
Just so much, so much. And I did another interview, and we were laughing because I was telling her, I said that day I had to look in the mirror and just say I'm the problem. Like sometimes
Or the
you
problem.
got stuff going on with yourself too, and so that is hard to really say that, okay, I need to
I
get it
would
together.
I would even add that my excuse was I'm a nice person.
Mm,
So because I'm nice, and people think I'm nice, they believe I'm nice, and not that I'm not nice, but that doesn't mean that I'm not without imperfections, or without
right.
something that needs to be reevaluated in myself. That what I experience sometimes was the way that I thought about myself, or
Mhm.
how I thought about myself made me insecure in arenas with other people, that, assuming a lot of different things without really having a real foundation around who it is that I am. So I'm just like, oh, well, I'm nice. I don't deserve that. I didn't do,
Yeah.
like, no, Shayla, being nice doesn't negate the fact that you are very flawed.
Right.
And really, maybe what I want to work on is how you respond to when you are nice and someone is not nice, or whatever
Mm,
whatever the lesson was for me. That was my excuse to not change at all. You're
yeah.
not. It's just like, so is
Yeah.
mine. Like, I
And
just feel like,
it gets so tricky because people have a perception of you,
mhm,
and you find yourself, or I found myself living up to this idea of who people think you are,
mhm.
and not wanting to kind of like mess up or tarnish
Right, right,
that
right.
idea that people have of you. And it's like, okay, no, really, we have to be living for God and being who God created us to be. And
Mhm.
this whole thing, man, this stuff, we don't really talk about it a lot. The inner work, the healing
It
is
helps.
so necessary. It is so necessary, but we just kind of, especially with social media now, we just really are just living these images and not really living who God
Absolutely.
created us
Or
to
we
be.
or we want the image of what we see somebody else's life is like, without really knowing what it took possibly for that individual or those
Right.
individuals to get where they are, which is really a self problem. Is I feel like the God was showing me in my process too of healing that there's a lot of undealt with defeats in my life. It's like, and then when I look at someone else's life and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I got to do it this way, and it's just like, you just don't know what it took. So I need you to focus on your journey. Know that I've given something for you to carry out, something for you to do. Like, all of what you experience wasn't just so you could just experience it.
Hmm.
I'm trying to do something in you that requires for you to be blinded by what you see about what's going on in other people's lives, and be very interested in the life that I desire for you. So that was just like, okay, God. I was like, okay, God. Well, I guess
Yeah.
I just can't keep
Yeah. That's
can't
so
keep
real.
loving everybody.
Even today, I'm like, okay, you can't keep living for other people. Like you
I
have
had the
to.
social media fast. I'm so fickle with
Oh my
social media now too.
God.
I'm like, oh, I feel insecurity arising. Shayla, put it down. Let's
Right.
deal with
That's
the
so
undealt with
real.
defeat.
I have to like
Absolutely.
block people, put people on mute,
Hmm.
unfollow stuff because it can get real. It really messes with your mind and see. And when you find yourself starting to feel
Comparing,
like that, that's not normal.
not normal,
Like, okay,
or
let
healthy
me
at all.
regress. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, for somebody who might be going through this difficult part of their healing process, I can imagine that, of course, it's not easy. There's times where you want to give up. So, somebody who might be in that difficult part is hard. They want to give up. They don't want to go through this process anymore. What encouragement would you give to them right now in that moment?
So I would first, I would sympathize with the difficulty that we as people in general face. I would sympathize with the fact that there is a reality behind what you faced in your life. I don't have all of the answers, but you're valuable. You're valuable. You're a necessity. You're you're important. You're not abandoned. There's a God that loves you a lot. And this is what it took, his son. And I'm trying to just, if you give him a chance, you will see that he can change your life. That, there's a desire. I believe I would tell that individual, I know that there's a desire and a hunger for you to be healed. I know it is. You don't want to be afraid. You don't want to continue to be broken by the rape, by the molestation, by my parents left me, by the fact that you're confused about what your identity and whatever it is that
Right.
you feel like you're dealing with. For me, Shayla, your validation. God is going to always be everything that you will ever need. But the more that you continue to trust what's external, you'll continue to always be seeking after a person, a place, or a thing. You can make it. Period. If you make up in your mind that you don't want to be in this place anymore, and you don't have to be. One shifting of how you see your life can just make you make a decision. And you just have to go through it. It's going to hurt. It might continue to keep hurting. You may not receive an apology. You may be
Mhm.
misunderstood. You may have been wrong on your part, but you are not a mistake. What you experience is not the end of your story. Your events, the events of your life, your brokenness isn't the end of you. Your brokenness is just something that God decided in this sinful world to use to bring glory to himself, because he wants to use you as a vessel so that, watch, you can minister to others. I look people in their face now, and when someone says, I want to take my life, I'm like, whoa, I've been there 6 different occasions. You don't have to do this. Why? Here's the reason why.
Mhm.
Let me give you this option. Let me show you what it is that you really need, what you're really desiring, and that there's a ministry inside of you, and wounds are just a part of that ministry that you just have to trust that you're going to make it. You're going to
Yeah.
make it, because I'm going to make sure you're going to make it. I'll do whatever it is that it takes, but you don't have to. What you see isn't always what you have to get. You can change it. You can really change that if you decide that, hey, once you begin to love on yourself and truly love the God who created you, you will find that in your turning away from those things, or that brokenness, or whatever is stopping you from really reaching the goal, or to become the person that you desire to be, is joy on the other side of that pain. And if you endure and persevere, if you build resilience,
Mhm.
you'll overcome those struggles. But the more you try to run away from them, or hide them, or cover them up, or mask them, you'll go in this cycle. But you can make it. You're valuable, you're loved. And if they were in front of me, I would give them a really big
Yes, she really would.
hug.
That's so good though. And I think also um it's important for us. I think we get impatient with ourselves because we mess up or we don't get it right the first time. I think it's important just to understand that it is a process and that we do have to be patient with ourselves. and just not trust in our own abilities, but trust God for the healing, not necessarily
Absolutely.
that we're going to do the healing. And
Yep.
so you mentioned, talking about the experience and then using your experience to help other people. So do you think in order to help others, you need to be fully healed from what you went through, or can you kind of still be going through your process and use that kind of as showing other people what you are going through to help them? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I think there's a healthy medium. So if you're bleeding, and what I mean by bleeding is that if you're still at the beginning stages of something that has hurt you in your life, and you're still trying to figure out what that is, I don't think you would do a service to helping. And what I mean by helping, you know, I, like, I don't think it would be healthy to bleed over someone else. I do, however, I don't believe that you have to be perfect in your healing to be able to help others. And your seeking, in your progression, in your fighting, in whatever it is that your process looks like, you can offer that insight because, like you said, Fee, that we're on this journey. We're never going to be, we're always going to be finding something that we fall short
Mhm.
of, or that we may not enjoy about ourselves or even about another individual. But in your strive, and in that building up, or in that counseling or therapy that you're getting, that accountability, that mentorship, that you sitting down and opening up the Bible and reading it for yourself, or you praying about those things, and then believe in God about those things, and then having the faith to do whatever it takes to make those things begin to manifest. When you're actively progressing, absolutely, you can give insight and offer to help. But I do think that in becoming whole, um, uh, and being healed and being healthy, it helps you produce more out of not just your own life, but it helps to produce fruit in other people's lives when you're actually living the life that you
Mhm.
say or that you desire for other people to live.
Yeah.
You only take people as far as you've been. So if you haven't been any place, you can't relate, or you can't confirm that there's better on the opposite side of it if you haven't experienced it, or if you're not trying to. you know you can't keep saying someone else made me do it. No, you chose to do it. So because of, so if you're actively progressing, you can absolutely give insight, but don't just bleed all on the folk if you're not okay.
Right. But you got close to the to the screen and said that.
Or you can just, say, I'm just not okay in this area, and shift them to someone else that has endured or has been strengthened through something that's similar to what it is that they're going through. But you absolutely don't have to be perfect to give that insight in your process.
Yeah, and I think some people do have that thought, like, okay, I'm not all the way together, so I can't really help anybody. And like you said, that's not necessarily the case, but you do want to be in a space where
You're actively
you're not,
progressing.
yeah, you're actively progressing and you're not bleeding
See
on the
some fruit
people.
in your own life.
Right.
You're
Absolutely.
actually doing what you want for other people to do, because that's a harsh reality too in the process, is that when you're trying to help someone else, you really, if you're not doing it yourself, you're like, I ain't doing that.
Mm,
I'm not really doing that. And I believe that that's God showing us that there's another a level that he wants to take us to, or another surface of ourselves that we haven't dealt with. So let's pull off that layer, let's deal with it, let's heal, and then that moves forward, because everything isn't going to always be perfect, but
right.
there is healing available to you, and you can be healthy and you can be whole.
You can be healthy and you can be whole. Yes.
Yes.
Listen, so I didn't put this in the questions, but I think we should talk about this because you mentioned therapy.
Hmm.
I've been to therapy before, and it was very instrumental in things that I've been through and helping
Hmm.
me get through in my healing process. So, talk about as a Christian, because there's, in our world, it's like taboo in the Black community and in the Christian community. It's taboo. We don't talk about going to therapy. We don't think we necessarily need to. It's a lot of different thoughts on that. It's been beneficial to me. I promote therapy, but as a Christian, Why did you decide to go to therapy?
So as a Christian, why I decided to go to therapy, honestly, I wanted I wanted an unbiased opinion about what it was that I was going through. And in therapy, I sometimes in my sharing of my story, there are pieces of my story that I'm not always comfortable with sharing. Rather, it's something that I feel like I'm afraid to share about myself, or or just afraid because it involves other things that have
Right.
been involved. It just helped me to be very honest about what it was that I was experiencing without someone having a preconception about the individuals that I may have to share about, or ugly things about myself that I had also had to be vulnerable about. So I was just really just seeking some outside unbiased help, and I felt like somebody who had the Holy Spirit would be of of help. So that's really what it was for me, and it's been helpful too, because I was searching for the best therapist for me, and I had saw a few, talked to a few, and I wasn't really wooed by, I was like, oh, I don't feel
Yeah.
like this is the Lord. But then when I finally found the person, God, just showed me that I had made the best choice. And your therapist should want to be a part of helping you become the best version of yourself, the way that God created you to be, regardless if they're telling you, hey, you need to be accountable to this, you need to break away from this. It's like they look at you from a different angle, and I know that your friends or your family members or your loved ones or those who you trust also look at you from that angle, but that help being, you know, going through those individuals have gone through courses where they can help individuals reach their best potential. So that's really just what it was for me. I needed an unbiased, help, because I was hurting. And then I was also I was uncovering some things about my childhood that I needed to just kind of redefine, and it's been absolutely beneficial, healthy, just getting it out, and
Right.
somebody being able to be like, no, that wasn't the other person. That was you. It was you, Shayla. This time,
Listen,
and that other time was you. It might have been them 5 years ago, but right now in this moment when you're saying you want to be whole, you got to deal with you. So it's just been
yeah,
helpful.
yeah, and I totally agree. Like my therapist, she's a believer as well, and like you, I went to somebody else first, and it just wasn't, right. Not that she was a bad person or anything. She just wasn't for me. And so
Right.
when I did find my therapist, it was like, yes, this is it. And I was able to open up and talk to her, like you said, without having to be mindful of the things you were saying, because you don't know
Yeah,
if they know this person and what they going to think
absolutely.
about it and all of that.
Absolutely.
So you're able to really be free in sharing your story and just be real and open. And man, my therapist, she will tell me about myself
Okay,
in
with
the
the
most
quickness.
loving way. Like, man, Miss Henry,
And
she's like,
give
very
you
soft
homework.
spoken.
And give you
Yes.
homework. And come
She's
back
like,
to
yeah,
in the
Miss
next
Henry.
session and be like, did you do your homework? And you better have had it done. I think one of the other things I would also say in someone in this promoting therapy as a Christian is you can only be healed with what you're honest about.
Yes.
So when you're sharing and you find that individual that's meant for you to share that with and help, just be honest about you, about it,
Mhm.
about all. Just be honest so that God can't heal what you won't reveal. He knows.
Right.
He just really wants that relationship with them. So you have to be honest with
That's
you.
so true. And I remember when I first started going to my therapist, like I was still holding back some information. And then
Yeah,
when I finally released some stuff, now my therapist, she got the Holy Ghost. So she already knew. She was like, I knew it was something. I was just waiting for you to tell me. She's like, I knew it was something else that you weren't really telling me. And so, yeah, I would just, until you find that person that's really for you, like like we said, it's very beneficial. And I always say, I really don't know if I would be here if I did not have my therapist. And yes, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, but I needed a person. Where I was in that time in that space, I needed a person. And so um I believe that they are a godsend. They are a part of, God's plan for you. So
Absolutely.
AMA
He
is
created
mental
them
mental
doctors
health
we trust.
awareness.
What you
What's
say? I said he created them doctors we go and give our co-pays to. We walking
okay?
up in there while they diagnosing. You better find
Exactly.
somebody that knows the Lord who will help you through your thoughts.
Okay. And be healed in Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
So before we wrap it up, so just share with us. I always like to ask people what their readings or what they've read in the past that they would recommend. So just share some of your book recommendations to the people.
So the very first book that I would consider for anybody would be it's by June Hunt, and it's called Forgiving When It Hurts. And it
Mm,
really walks people through this forgiveness process behind, just that releasing what happened to you, and that whole, looking at forgiveness from a different standpoint, not like, oh, I'm just forgiving to be weak. No, I'm actually forgiving. I'm learning what forgiveness really looks like so that I can give over to God what he wants to carry and help me, become a better person. So I would recommend, that was like one of the first books that I was offered. I was like, I don't want to read this. This is not Sister Joyce gave me that first book. Um,
oh,
and then I will also recommend Desiring God by John Piper. It's a little difficult in the beginning because it's a little tough, but I'm telling you, it will bless you if you read it. A, The Power of a Praying Woman by Stormy O'Martian. And then I'm also reading daily a book called Changes That Heal by Dr. Henry Cloud. It just talks about, you know, those different things that we need to change inside of us first that help us to create a better future for us without,
mm,
like holding those things over us from the past. So those are some really. Desiring God is really good. It's some difficult words in there, but it's really, really, really good if you are somebody who is in quest about like who is God and what,
mm.
you don't understand, and just try it. It has been very helpful and beneficial for me.
That's so funny that you said that. I was on their website today. I didn't even know he had a book though. So I'm gonna check that out.
He's an author. I'm telling you, I was the first time I turned the pages, I'm like, oh man, this is hard. I had to write words down. He was choosing all these kinds of words. And then I was like, okay, let me give it a try. And then I was like, oh, okay. No, the book shows you, because most of the time people also won't try God because they think they know who God is. For
Mhm.
me, there was no way, I couldn't argue who I believe God was without really knowing who it was that he was. And he's not just this meanie who says, don't do this and don't do that and all of these different things. No, he's a loving God, and he puts the desire for himself inside of every human being. It's our choice to
Our
choose.
choice.
It's our choice to choose him. But this desiring of God is something that we all house on the inside of us. It's just a matter of like giving our lives over to him. So I would definitely.
Absolutely. That's so good. That's so good. We could sit on here forever just
Oh, please.
chatting. I know, right?
I could be
So,
deep, girl. I could just be deep.
right. Oh, listen, we know Shayla, you know. So I guess just give the people some parting words, some final thoughts, some encouragement for, you know, starting the healing process, going through the healing process, and then after that, just share how we can get in touch with you.
Okay. So I would say, I could say a lot of things. We are all on a journey. We are all trying to figure out the whys in our lives, or what had to happen, or why it had to happen, all of those different things. You're on a journey that isn't going to be pain free,
Mm,
but there is a lot of joy in the journey with God. You don't have to give up because it's difficult. I think your difficulty is a sign that God is showing you that there's some readjusting in your life. There's another level that He wants to take you to, because He wants you to be healthy, and He wants you to be healed, and He wants you to be whole. And healing isn't a theory. Healing is an absolute desire of God for your life, and also a choice that He gives you the choice to choose.
Mm.
So healing is within your reach. It's in your DNA. If you just trust that what you have gone through and what you have experienced isn't all that you'll have to experience. That really healing helps to show. I know for me, healing has helped to show me that there are pieces of my life that God had to use to put together to make me whole. That's good. Um, but you're a whole, but you're a whole person with a journey, with a life that God wants to use to show you Himself. And I just want you to live that type of life, live healthy, and just even considering how you're thinking, what you're speaking, even what you're eating, the places you're dwelling in, the habits that you have, the lifestyles that you have. God is never going to make you comfortable outside of the person that He has created you to be.
Mm,
So
that's good.
saying that comes with some difficulty, but you were created for it. I mean, we just don't serve a God who just inflicts pain on us. He's the God of the universe. He is the keeper of our souls. He's the one who sent His Son to die on your behalf. And we have the right to lay down our lives for Him and for our neighbor. And I'm just committed to helping you become that healthy whole person by sharing whatever ugly pieces of me that help me become the person that I am. So don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. Don't quit. Remember, you're valuable. You're loved. You're important. I don't care who left or who's leaving. I don't care what comes or what may. I'm talking to myself now too. You have to trust that God has His best interests at hand. And if you trust Him, you'll find that there's joy on the opposite side of your pain. Just go through it. Go through it. You'll
Mm,
get through it. It'll be
that's so good.
2021, and we're going to, have some new strength that God has built in us. But just, believe in yourself, and desire to be the person, the man, the woman that God has called you to be.
Yes, absolutely. And that was so good.
So, well, my Facebook is just my name. It's just Shayla Smith. I am in active in the active process of just rebranding, my social media. I'm not really good with that kind of stuff, but you can follow me on Instagram at Wednesday Hill, and then my Facebook is just Shayla Smith.
Yes. So, guys, make sure you get connected with the preacher, Dr. Jayla Smith.
I'm crying. Please don't start.
Listen, I know. Let me stop. But oh, this was so good. Leia, thank you so much for tuning in. LaShawn, thank you for tuning in.
Thank
Katrina,
you.
who else was on here commenting? Rachel, thank you all for tuning in, and everybody else who was watching and shared. Yeah, Leia said, God never allows you to be comfortable living a life that opposes who He created you to be. That was so good. That was a good one. So,
Absolutely.
y'all get connected with Shayla. I'm not even, I don't even need to say anything else. Like, I'm not going to add anything. I'm just going to go in my prayer closet and pray for some healing.
Okay.
Um, but I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I am excited. I'm always excited about what God is doing in your life and what He is going to do with Wounds That Heal. I'm waiting. I know some things are coming down the pipeline. I'm just waiting. So, y'all get connected, stay connected,
Yes. I
be
love
blessed.
you guys. Thank you.
Yes. What do I want to share? So this was the last interview for the Slay Goals interview series, but I want you guys to meet me Friday at 7 p.m. I have some announcements. Just come back here Friday at 7, and I'm so excited. If you want to be a part of our community, again, we have a Facebook group, the Seek God Slay Goals Movement. Just look us up and join. And again, thank you all for tuning in. Marlene, thank you. Caprice, thank you. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. I love you. Thank you so much, Shayla, and you all be blessed and be
Okay.
safe.
All right.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.